friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Tile Money Podcast. Tile Money is strengthening the tile industry. We're doing this with our weekly business education and discussions designed for contractors by contractors. This education is assisting tile contractors around the world to build sustainable, profitable businesses. The result? A stronger industry from the installer up. Today I have Matt Scott with me in the studio, and Matt is the owner of Rembrandt Tile. And we're going to discuss how he got into tile. We're going to discuss some of his backgrounds, which are not necessarily traditional backgrounds of a tile setter, although they might be. So we'll see what that's all about. It's funny what things we learn as we go through our education that we can apply later to tile, and that's one of the things we're going to be talking about today. So I'm super excited to bring Matt on. Before we bring Matt on, though, I do want to talk about our sponsors a little bit. These are the sponsors that are concerned and are giving back to the tile industry, the tile installers, I should say, really. The small tile contractors that are out there are the backbone of this industry, and without a healthy, strong tile contractor backbone, we don't have much of an industry. And it's my belief that's why we've seen some of the major problems in the industry that we have, a lot of failures, a lot of people out there underbidding. And of course, they're going to have to use inferior methods and inferior materials. But my sponsors are to the rescue. They're happy to support you, the listener of this podcast, the tile installer, the tile contractor out there. And I thank them for doing that. The NTCA, the National Tile Contractors Association, wants to support tile contractors. They've been doing that for 75 years. Laticrete International is another company that wants to support tile contractors. They've been in business for 65 years, literally coming out and inventing thin set and continuing to innovate with innovative new products, lightweight, dustless. They're making it easier for you to do the work you need to do with these new tiles we're installing these days. HappyTileGuy.com is where tile contractors can get professional search engine optimized websites done for them. I am a part owner in that, so we have blog posts to share. We have all kinds of neat tools. We're coming out with a CRM. We already have it out. A few of our customers are using it, but we're perfecting it for you and working hand in hand with our clients. And GoBoard is a Johns Manville company. They are a lightweight, waterproof tile backer board. You can build a whole shower in no time. And lightweight products. So thank you all to the sponsors. All right, let's bring Matt up here. Matt, how are you?
Good. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you. So I gave a brief introduction, but why don't you introduce yourself, where you're from, and what you do?
I am the owner and lead installer at Rembrandt Tile, and we are in Cleveland, Ohio. Just two of us, and we do mainly residential, but every once in a while we'll dive into commercial.
Okay. So for those residential projects, is that directly to the homeowner, or is that to are you a subcontractor working with builders?
I usually direct to the homeowner. I have a couple builders and flippers that I'll work with. But mainly just direct to the homeowner.
Okay, good. What do you like to do for fun over there, Matt? What does your family life look like? What are you up to on the weekends?
I'm a single dad. I have a daughter, and she is 9, and we like to bake, watch a lot of movies, TVs, basketball, lots of art museums and trips like that. When I'm not working, I pretty much hang out with her all day.
That's super cool, man. That's super cool. You sound like a good dad and got a good thing going on there with her and teaching her about life and all kinds of skills.
Hopefully she carries on the tile. I always try.
Oh, are you? Are you pushing her to tile?
I bring her to the job every once in a while.
Nice. That's cool. That's really cool. Well, I teased it a little bit. Why don't you share a little bit about your background, maybe some of your college education and some of the different things you've done over the years, and then, how you kind of found yourself back or in the tile trade.
When I was 18 and I graduated high school, I went and worked with my dad at an environmental place. We recycled, took care of the earth and a lot of things for the EPA. I worked there for a while, and then I went to Tampa, Florida, and worked with my uncle pulling wires in new condos. And that was neat for a while. It was really neat, but Florida is very hot. It takes a different person to live in Florida year round.
Yeah, and
So I,
pulling wires is no joke in the heat.
and these are, 17 stories, so we're pulling 2,000 feet at a time, and sometimes that conduit is not as big as you would like it to be.
Yeah.
Then I came back and just got a lot of different jobs. I decided to go to college, and I started out to be a chemical engineer. So I got my associate degree in art and science. And then I went on to buy a flip home. And then I was like, yep, this is going to be easy. I'm going to hire people and they're going to come in and they're going to do an awesome job and I'm going to make a ton of money just like on TV. And
Yeah.
that is not the way it went at all. Our tile guy started half a job, and halfway through it, he said that I had to buy all new tile. He wanted to rip it all up, and there was nothing else we could do. So we fired him, and I just did the rest with my uncle. Um, After that, he said that I did a pretty good job with the tile, and I liked doing it out of all the other horrible things we had to do, like plumbing, drywall, painting, etc. Um, so then I didn't like my office life. I worked at the office still, and
Mm.
so I wanted to do that. So then I worked 3 days a week at an office job, and then I worked 4 days a week doing tile for a local store and getting mentored by one of their 20-year tradesmen. He taught me a lot. But working for a store, you don't get the freedom. It's almost still like a corporate job in some respect. They want you there Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And what I was looking for was more freedom to sit with my daughter and hang out with her. So after about 4 years of doing both, I maybe a year and a half ago, I transitioned full time, just doing my Rembrandt tile, and here I am today.
Nice. Well, congratulations on launching your own company. That's a huge step, and it sounds like you were ready. I mean, for your apprentice, plus the experience you had before that, and that's funny. You ended up kind of getting forced into learning the trade there with your fix and flip.
It was a blessing and a curse. I always tell him I kind of don't like that contractor, but I got this from him, so I definitely love him to some extent.
It's funny how that works out. Yeah. So what if any have you been able to utilize from your college education in the trade?
Lots of math.
Yeah.
Uh, you need math. You need fractions. You need to be able to cut a fraction in half is huge. I mean, I think I still struggle with that, right? What is half of 3/16 is um, and then I would say the chemistry, working with like hot and colds and pressures and chemistry is easy to learn in real life. I put hot water in a grout one time and it was a rock within 5 minutes. So you learn to put
Mm.
cold water in the grout bucket.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So with that chemist background, I imagine you're, looking at those instructions on the back of the bags a little bit more with a keener eye than most of us probably.
And I like to measure everything. And like when I measure it, you have to set it on the ground on a level surface, or that's not really measuring it. Uh, I like to sand and polish every edge really carefully, and the layout will drive me crazy. I'll sleep on it for 3 days thinking about it. Like, how am I going to make every line meet and match up, and the curb going around corners and outsides, meeting with the niche, and it takes a lot more planning than I ever thought.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. There's a lot that goes into making it as perfect as you can. As an artist, do you find yourself, you know, selling that a lot to your clients? Like, you know, your art background, do you find a lot of clients approaching you because of your, you know, your take on tile, I guess?
I think so because you know, I don't want to just get it done as quick as possible and move on to the next job. I You only have a limited time in this world, and I can only do so many pieces. So I don't want somebody to look at it and hate it every day. That would be like the worst thing. Like a painting, you want to look at it and cherish it every day, and that's why you buy them. So that's kind of what I feel like. Especially a backsplash, I feel like it's underappreciated. But I love the kitchen. That's my favorite place to hang out is the kitchen. And
Mm.
so if you have a bad backsplash, you don't even enjoy it, you know. So if you can look at it and it's, you know, it's an NFT you can hold and show it off to your friends, and you know, it's neat.
The original
The original
NFTs.
NFTs. Mm-hmm.
So
So
you mentioned, you know, when you were talking about your 4-year apprenticeship, or not, yeah, I guess apprenticeship, working with that store and working with a veteran to the trade, it sounds like you were really appreciative for that opportunity. A lot of times, you know, I I'm guilty of this, right? I mean, I had like a 3-year apprenticeship with you know my mentor, and then opportunity came knocking. And I kind of felt like I could strike it out on my own, which I did, you know, of course. But a lot of times, you know, looking back, we can say, oh man, I see if I had stuck around to a couple more years, I would have really polished off and finished my apprenticeship, you know. Can you speak to this a little bit and the importance of finding, you know, a mentor who, you know, is older and wiser and you can learn from faster really than, you know, going out on your own?
uh yeah, I totally agree with everything. First part, I wish I would have stayed a little longer. There was a couple things with hardwood flooring because we used to do all hard surfaces at the store. So we did hardwood and you know, LVT, blah blah blah, all those. And he used to switch the boards around and cut things and make them fit. And I really wish I would have paid more attention. And those things help you out with the hardwood, making it look full, especially they were newer homes, so they would wrap around a huge middle staircase, and making all that meet is really difficult. Um, but the apprenticeship was huge. I like Gary Vee. I like to listen to him, and so he was like, reach out to all the local people. So learning from the people that had been doing it for a long time is good. But even I guess that's one thing I learned from school too is like I like to learn from everyone and then make my own way. Um, because everybody has good ideas, but everybody is different. I can work longer, I feel like, than some people, but I can't lift as much as other people. So I take more trips moving forward than some other people, or vice versa. Um, but they working with a lot of different people gives you a lot of different aspects. Some people like to work with multiple people, and then some people can't get along with multiple people. And knowing how you work best and knowing how you're going to get along at your company is good. um, Going back to learning more, there's always more you can learn. I feel like
Mm.
you never can find everything because everyone, like the people in the south do it differently than we do it in the north because of temperatures and other factors. You know, they got clay in North Carolina and we have dirt. So all those things make it different. So I guess learning from local people is important, uh, and connecting with them, making good connections at the stores. They also help me with material. Uh, like I try to buy it in bulk now, and I learned that from someone. They showed me where I could buy in bulk. Uh, all those things help. I mean, the bottom line is good, you know.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. These are some great points here, Matt. I like that about, you know, the wraparound layouts and the new construction, you know, having to, you know, really dial in that that whole entire home with the layout, even though it's multiple rooms. That was my apprenticeship too in Arizona, where we would typically be tiling an entire home. Sometimes they would carpet the bedrooms, but other than that, and a lot of times the bedrooms too. And the larger the home, the more complicated it is. And, those are the little things that you take for granted, because I was doing that, or I was watching that, the crew I was working with do that from day one on the job. And I kind of took it for granted that not every tiler knew that or had that opportunity to learn from somebody so knowledgeable and skilled, right? So you take these little things for granted, because it's like, I mean, if you find yourself, in a great situation from day one, you don't really know it's a great situation. You just kind of know, like, this is the way it's done, and you kind of take it for granted. And years later, you're like, man, I wish I would have spent a little more time asking and drawing my mentor out on, how, and even though how, maybe there's always more tricks and tips to it. I like the fact that you brought out like local building methods, and even codes and even materials are different, north to south to east to west. Even like in the state of California, when I was there, I knew I had some friends on the coast that bought some mountain property, and they built a spec home, like $1 million spec home. And of course, this was when spec homes were like in 05, 06, and unfortunately, what happened was they didn't realize, it was going to freeze, and they've never built in a freezing climate and a snow. And, they were using coastal California methods and mountain California towns. And, they had to rectify a lot of little things over the years. And that was kind of a wake up for them. And it's good to remember that. I mean, a lot of times, most of the people listening to this, a lot of them never moved around, maybe, and they interact though online with people from around the world, right? I mean, we're talking to people in different countries, and I shake my head and scratch my head a lot of times, because it's like a lot of these people, their interactions, it's like if you're not doing it, they act like if you're not doing it the way they do it, it's wrong. And it's like, no, it's not. It might be right. It might be better. It might be just the circumstances or the materials of the location need to be done a certain way. You don't know the local building code. And, so instead of being so hot-headed and easy to jump down someone's throat, maybe ask some questions. That's what we're doing here, is asking questions. Wouldn't you agree?
I totally agree with that. I like a lot of European tile artists, and the way that they do it is not even close to the way that I would do it. Or like you said, the the people in Southern California do it amazing. Like they do the black tar and the shower pan and like all that cool stuff. And like, I don't know anyone who does that around here. Like I've never
Yeah.
seen anyone. And then like I've seen the people do like the wet set, where they'll like do the pan and set it all in one day, like use that type of concrete, or just use real concrete. And that's not wrong. It's totally not wrong. And just depending where you are and how you do it, I use the foam board, but that's just because that's what I learned. If I learned it a different way and I was born maybe somewhere else, I would do it a different way totally.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about, the first 4 years, here in your business. What obstacles have you faced, and how did you push through them, if any? Have you ever felt stuck, like you weren't going to be able to overcome a situation?
Absolutely. Yeah. But then you just reaching out to people has really helped. My uncle, um, he's older. He's like 65, I think. So he's seen a lot, in his time, and usually he's seen something similar. One time I was doing a floor and I bumped into a sink, and the P trap broke, and I had no idea what to do. This was like when I was really, really new, and I was freaking out. So I just called him, and he came out the next day. He's my Jesus of carpentry for sure. He helps me all the time. So
Nice.
those things, reaching out and asking for help, I think, and it's hard to do, because I mean, that's why I kind of own my own company, right? That's kind of why we all do this, because we're kind of like stubborn, and we don't want to ask for help, and we want to do it ourselves. And but yeah, asking people has really got me through a lot of things. Ask Just talking to friends that I don't communicate with all the time that have also jumped in the trades, like since high school or childhood friends, and like getting drywallers to come and help me, just getting different people to help me. My newest apprentice is a home inspector.
Mm.
So having his eyes looking at a million different things that I never looked at has really helped me a lot. Yeah, and he's helped me overcome a couple things too. Like, well, why don't we do it this way? And it's like, oh yeah, we can do it that way, and that makes more sense too. So, and it's still within code and safe and things like that. Also looking at other people that do things wrong, you just know what to do right then.
You've got a man on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. That's cool. It's funny too, because you mentioned, like, he's asking questions, sincere questions that, he may or may not know the answer to, but sometimes it leads you to do things in a more efficient way. That's cool. So that's I mean, I've got a 5-year-old, you've got a 9-year-old. That's the way it is when you're a father too, or a mother, is you start to learn things from these kids. So we should definitely be, say that again.
So much so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what would you say you're most proud of when it comes to what you built in the last 4 years?
Um, First thing that comes to mind, I did like a bird wall. It was like a pattern tile, and it all went together. And the client was really neat. He was a tattoo artist, so they both had a lot of style in there, and I just liked everything. They didn't spare any expense on things that were needed. Uh, so that was nice too. Like, if it was needed for the job, it was bought. And so it just came out awesome. I think it was one of my favorite pieces. We did the floor in there, and then we did a huge mosaic backsplash that had black and white and gold inlays. Each little piece was like 16 pieces. And then it had blue cabinets and the white cords. And then I did a pattern floor for the walk. So I liked it just because I got to put so much in one house too. That was really neat. I've got to do a couple herringbones, and then I just mitered the outside edge of one of my herringbones for the first time, and that was really cool. I took a million pictures of it. Um, uh, I did a like a picture frame, and I put the crushed marble like herringbone inside of a Subway. That was really neat. They had a lot of good cabinetry, and they had a light right on it, so it kind of accented it and it looked really neat. Those are probably my favorite ones. I'm getting more into showers now. When I first started, I did more backsplashes because it's just like one plane. It's a lot easier, and it takes less time. I usually work by myself for the first couple of years. So a shower is, I don't want to say it, but daunting a little bit. It can take a lot of time. And I used to not have as much time in the beginning too. So to try and do a quick turnaround, a backsplash or a half bath floor or something was more efficient.
That makes sense. You're working your way up. I love hearing your passion and your excitement for the different, artistic jobs you've already accomplished and have under your belt. That's exciting. That's exactly what you need. And I'm thinking about, that excitement has to come across when you're selling yourself to your, potential customers, right? Is that something you do? How do you sell your value to that potential client?
Yeah. It's funny you say that. I went and I met with another contractor, and he wanted me to do the tile on one of his large jobs. And we were speaking afterwards and just talking about business. And I was like, I don't want to do the estimates anymore. And he told me that you have to do them. You are what makes your business. Like, you come in and you sell it, and I'm getting to the point where after I go and talk to people, they kind of don't care how much it is. They're like, okay, we just want you to do it. And I guess that's the value that I bring. And I don't want to do a bad job either. And I turn down a lot of jobs lately. If it's just not I'm just not feeling it, I just won't do it. If somebody wants me to do it the wrong way, I won't do it anymore. My insurance doesn't like that either. Uh, so, yeah, and older people, they get taken advantage of around here.
Mhm.
In Cleveland, it's you can not you cannot get money back from a contractor. If you give money to someone, it's almost impossible to get your money back. So I think, I'm honest. Like I don't like to take money until I even do it half the time. If
Mhm.
it's a small backsplash, I don't need to get paid until it's done. I'm not coming out a lot in materials and what have you. So I think a lot of people feel comfort in that and stuff, and I never have anything to hide too. So if anybody wants me to break one out and fix it or whatever, I have no problem doing that.
Mhm. That's really cool. So it sounds like, I mean, it's funny what your friend told you. You know, you've got to keep going and selling. I mean, he must have seen in action, the ability you have, and just you being yourself and being open and honest and communication is what it sounds like is helping you sell these jobs. Um, Now, the tough thing is, right, for doers and artists like yourself, and I'll be curious to hear your answer here, because as we grow a business, right, there's always the question of, I'm the artist, right? I'm the one doing the work, uh, and, but I'm also selling it, and now I'm also, I'm keeping the books. I'm in charge. I'm responsible for my employee. Do you have any questions like this or thoughts about future plans for growth, or how you would ever transition, if ever, out of the installation side of things?
Uh, yeah, I thought about that. I've been thinking about it a lot lately, because it's a big question now because I'm getting really busy. Before, uh, I was more hunting for jobs. I do a lot of like social media marketing, and I go and like talk to people and stuff like that. And now I kind of don't have to do that. I almost have like a wait list or whatever now. So, uh, so for growth, uh, I want to get more into like videography and well, I just connected with a guy and he's going to come out with us and film for the day and do that. So I kind of don't want to not install. I feel like if I do not install, double negatives, but I'll just be going back to the office, and that's what I like don't want to. I used to work in factories for a long time. A lot of people hate factories, especially in the Midwest. We have tons of them. Um, but it wasn't that bad for me because you get to move around. My
Mhm.
body gets sore if I sit around. Um, so I like to manage it with both. I mean, we all need rest. I can't work every day. I go and get cryo frozen, so I kind of can work more. Um, but every Friday I take off and I do like something like this or estimates and stuff because, like you said, at the beginning it was hard to manage all the hats. And so now I try and keep two like prospective clients, two clients I'm working on quotes for, and then two clients that like I have scheduled or I'm working at because I used to hurry up, do a job, not see any other ones, and then I'd be stuck for like a month working on it. So that's one big thing I've learned lately is like trying to transition them all. Um, a stranger on social media that I talked to sent me at a tile store sent me a poem about a fisherman and a businessman, and I've read it like 100 times lately, and it's kind of about that too, right? What am I going to do if I grow? I'm going to make $1 million and then I'm going to be so busy I don't get to hang out with my daughter. Like now I get to do pretty much whatever I want every day. When I wake up, I do whatever I want. And so if I grow and get more money, what am I going to do? Whatever I want, that's already what I do.
I love that answer, Matt, and I'm very familiar with that poem. It's a great poem. I love it. I love it. It's a good reminder. Thanks for bringing it up. Let's see. I'll try to put a link in the show notes, but the the summary of it is, like you mentioned, the fisherman has a sweet life, right? I mean, he's just loving his life, feeding his family and selling a little fish so that he could, live a comfortable life with his family. And he did, he had a big life, which means, music and friends and, enjoyment, right? And food. And then the businessman said, well, you could scale it. And it went on. And basically, the businessman's idea of scaling, when the fisherman said why, kept asking why, was, well, so one day when you're older, you can retire and eat and drink and have fun with your family. And he's like, I'm doing it. I love it.
I love that. I never heard it before, and I was getting stressed out. Like, am I going to hire people? Am I going to start a training? Am I going to, you think of all these things and growing, and I don't know. I kind of just don't want to at this point. Maybe when my daughter gets older or something, but right now I just want to make enough money to go to Disney World every year, right?
Let me know when you go.
For sure.
So, Matt, you mentioned Fridays off, or Fridays really scheduled for, well, when we say off, as tile guys, we mean we're not installing tile. But you're still working. That's the thing is, it's funny because we call it an off day, but we're sitting there on the computer, or we're making, social media marketing posts, or we're working up, estimates, or collecting checks or whatever, but we're working on the business instead of in it. This is key, man. This is great news. I love to see it, because if you're going to stay small, like you want to, what we have to remember, Tylers, is, sustain, I talk about profitability, but the other thing I say a lot is sustainability. And for a single owner operator, I'm not against that, because look, that's our trade. That's our industry. We're an art focused industry. So of course, we're going to have a ton of men and women who stay single owner operators, and there's nothing wrong with that, but we have to think about sustainability. So how do you sustain that? You preserve your body, right? You preserve your body and your mind, and your body and your mind can only take so many 12-hour days in a row. And before it hits its max, and that's not sustainable. So a lot of times, and the funny thing is, if you do, like when I started reserving a day a week, I started noticing, oh, I'm losing money here. Oh, my bid, tighten up my bids, raise them up. I do this process different, and you start enjoying it a little more. You start noticing things where you were losing money before, because if you're too busy, you're not going to be able to keep your eye on the books and your eyes on the business. So kudos to you for doing that. Not a lot of people do that, especially right now when the work is there to get. And most people see the only way to scale or make more money is to work physically more. I say that's wrong. You need to work more mentally, at least like 10, 20%, I think, is the rule of thumb. So an 8-hour day a week. 20% is what you need to focus on the business, on the computer, on the numbers. And I think you're going to find that you're going to be a lot better off and able to do a lot more. And if you ever do decide to scale that and add employees, that rhythm in your work schedule will already be there. You won't have to retrain yourself. In fact, maybe you'll find yourself just scaling back to 3 days a week, one, at some point, and working 2 days from the office. That way you have best of both worlds. Maybe you add one more installer or something of this nature. You mentioned marketing on social media. This is such a great question. It's a question that comes up a lot. And a lot of times the answers that are given are not satisfactory to the people asking, because the people asking are like in year 1 or 2 or 3, and the people answering are in year 5, 6, 7, 10. And they almost always give an answer like you're giving now even, well, the work's starting to come, I don't have to market, right? But that doesn't answer that one or 2 or 3-year-old business's question. Or like I said, somebody today, I was like, well, what if you move? What if you relocate? You're not going to market? Like, how are if you came down to Florida, your contacts in Cleveland would not necessarily help you get jobs in Florida. So you're going to have to do it all over again. So it's always a good reminder, because a lot of people who listen to this are early in their years of business. It's a good reminder tell us how you went from zero to where you are today. Like, what have you done marketing wise that has helped you build that reputation?
I would say at first, first I just reached 1,000 followers, and I thought that was huge, right? Because when you start out and you have zero, you're like, man,
Yeah.
1,000 is crazy, and then you see some at 30,000, but small accomplishments, right? But when I first started, I did 2 jobs for free, and I told them just to tell their friends. They were friends of mine,
Sure.
and so that was expensive for me. So I did 2 jobs for free, and then I went to all the stores, and I talked to them and handed out business cards. I made business cards are the best thing, and they're the cheapest. They're like $15 or something like that. You can get 1,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
Hand them out everywhere. Cork boards, wherever those are at in my community. Some restaurants have them, some don't. Whatever, wherever there are, I put them. I talk to all the stores. The stores are a big one, but I don't really like working for the stores anymore. But still, sometimes they'll just give it straight to the customer, and then you can just go direct.
Yeah.
I bought social media ads too, which is I think is one of the greatest things. They're more expensive now than 5 years ago or whatever, but the Facebook ads are, you can set your own budget. You can put $3 a day and still get a response. That's how I used to get a lot of mine, was that, $20, $30, 2, 3 days, and just localized. Also just meeting people and sending people millions of messages. Every builder in Cleveland, every person, interior designers, anybody who kind of touches tile, I messaged them, or like went and met them and talked to them, and other installers in the area. If they get too busy and they know you, they could refer you. Real estate agents, everybody I befriend. I spend a lot of time on social media, likes, sharing other people's things, commenting on just random things, and all these people, all these things too, I learned from like Gary Vee, all those like positive business coach type people, and whoever you associate with. My apprentice likes Eric Thomas or whatever, so it's like, whoever you like, just do kind of things that they do, mimic people in your industry who have more of a following or whatever. Also, the numbers don't matter. If you get 5 likes, you just keep making more. You just keep making more. If nobody watches your shit, like, just keep on making it. Just keep making it. That's a huge thing. Being yourself is big. Don't try to be somebody else. We all copy. That's art. But just take a little bit. Don't take it all from someone.
Yeah.
I try and get trendy with music, because if you do the trending music, you obviously get more likes. But if I get 10,000 likes in, Turkey, it kind of doesn't matter, because those people aren't going to call me or whatever. I think a more localized social media is better. I do like food bloggers in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Anybody who is anybody. If you have 100,000 likes or whatever, I'm following you in Cleveland or whatever.
Right.
And that just helps. And a lot of people will come up to me. Sadly enough, one of my friends passed away, and I seen a lot of friends who I haven't seen in a long time, and they're like, we watch your video, but I don't really know that. But a lot of people said that to me, and so I extrapolate that. It must mean like, well, if you see it, that means other people see it, and other people see it, and if they tell your friends, you get that almost pyramid scheme, but not scheme, but yeah, telephone effect. I would say is a better way of describing it. Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's really cool. I'm on the same wavelength as you are when it comes to the local versus, like, it depends on what you want to build, right? If you want to build a brand like a social media influencer or a podcast, obviously you're gonna, like, I'm concerned with the whole world, right? But when I was Miller Tile and Stone, I actually I got to the point was like, well, why am I following why am I so concerned about all these people who don't live in San Luis Obispo? And so I started like you said, food bloggers, anybody who had a local hashtag, and I started using all local hashtags because that's what I wanted to focus on, was generating more leads for that business. My tile installation business. So that's where I was, geotags, local hashtags, and then starting conversations. Like if there's a restaurant you follow and they're on social media, just start a conversation with them in the DMs, tell them you enjoyed their food, talk to them, because chances are that's the local business owner who might be your neighbor running that account, or it might be a social media manager who's your neighbor or whatever. And so starting these conversations is actually a way to hack into social media, to where I don't care if you have a dozen followers, if you have 100, 20, if you have a dozen followers and a dozen nice photos of your work and you have a good personality and you're DMing people, you could land a six-figure job from that. It don't matter. Like that's the thing we need to remember is social media marketing, all this stuff. It's all about the personal connections. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get in front of people and start a conversation. So approach it like that, and you're going to have a completely different experience than if you're worried about, like I tell people, like TikTok, yeah, it's great. And I'm on there now too, but it's a lie. And I'm sorry. I'm not going to apologize for saying that, because it's proven that most of these people are robots following you. And I'm sorry. And, I'm probably saying that because I only have less than 1,000 followers over there, and I'm jealous, but the fact of the matter is, I mean, if you research it and look into the way these things work, and you can figure it out pretty fast. You click on profiles and they don't share anything, but they follow everybody. It's a robot,
I totally agree with that. I just joined TikTok.
Yeah.
It is awesome for editing. You can do a lot more, and you can do a lot of transitions and a lot of things you can't do in a lot of the other apps. But like you said, I got 400,000 views on like one video. But what does that really mean? Like, I don't know. I don't have 400,000 more customers. So
Right.
I don't know. And so, and it's just weird. It's more entertainment. It's kind of like a different YouTube for me. Like, it's definitely more global, but yeah, if I have 10,000 followers, it doesn't mean I have 10,000 more business. And when I get more Instagram messages, and because too, I feel like that platform is for pictures, and Tile is visual. Like you kind of want to hear about it and stuff, but really you want to look at it. I mean, that's why we put it up.
Yeah.
So Facebook, I feel like, is more of a talkative or a dialogue kind of thing. Twitter is quick and dialogue and celebrity driven, and it's neat because they actually talk to you and things like that. TikTok is like, I don't know what.
It's like dancing videos, and it's a meme. It's a meme app, really, and it's valuable. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's not value. I'm not saying I'm not playing in that space as of recently, and trying. What I think of is like, all right, what am I going to do there? How am I going to express myself over there? And what I think what I'm leaning towards is just a little bit more of my personality. Let that come out a little more heavy on TikTok. It seems like people who are just, in my situation, just opening up, and just having fun or sharing, a few thoughts on camera, and keeping it short is the way to go over there. So, and I'm still not 100% comfortable over there, but I'm forcing myself to get in there at least, every other day or every day a little bit, and just kind of dip my toes in. And that's just how you got to learn. It's interesting. All these places have their unique, like you're saying, they do have their unique, what's the word I'm looking for?
Attributes.
Yeah. Yeah. And they attract, different things you can do with them. So, well, listen, this has been a great conversation here. What have we missed, or, if have we missed anything we wanted to talk about that you remember?
If you wanted like maybe like the bidding process.
That was one thing I was looking at too. If you want to talk about it, that's always a good subject. That was going to be my other question for you is, tell us how you approach that.
Also, too, I think pricing kind of rolls almost into it.
Right.
I feel like that's always the most popular thing, right? We all want to know what pricing is and stuff. But when a customer contacts me, they call me directly. I always let it go to voicemail,
Mhm.
just because then I can like kind of like digest it a little bit, figure out what they want. Um, because if someone calls me for like carpet in the basement, I'll get someone ready, and then I'll just text them like, "Hey, this guy does carpet in your basement," or what have you.
Right.
That helps with referrals too, because even though I don't do a job for somebody, doesn't mean that they can't refer me to someone who I do the job for. And I think
Mhm.
that's important to not write anyone who calls you off. I
Yeah.
try and call everyone back no matter what it's for. Even a lot of people call me for cabinets, and I just tell them I don't do cabinets or whatever. But they might,
Mhm.
since I called them back, they might call me back when their cabinets are done for the back.
Sure.
I always view every project in person because I've gotten to some things for some realtor buddies and some other people I know, and you're like, no, this isn't what I signed up for, and so now you have to go. Even cleanliness of a house. If I walk into your house and there's a million boxes in it, I'm not coming back. If it smells horribly like animal urine, I'm probably not going to do it. It's it's not for me. I got allergies and stuff, and somebody else can do that thing.
Sure.
So going and seeing a project and seeing what's not even in the bathroom, going in and out, where it's located, all those things are important when you bid. How far it takes me to get there. So if I have to drive an hour, I'm charging money.
Mhm.
Because that's more gas, that's more time, not on the job, and it
Mhm.
all adds up. I made an Excel spreadsheet from a person. I had like a guy who lived down the hall from me not too long ago, and I hired him. He was a computer guy, and he made this awesome Excel spreadsheet for me. One of my friends told me professionals like being treated like professionals, so I can't bid a $10,000 job with a text message that says 10 grand.
Yeah.
That's people don't like that. I do itemize mine. Some people, I hear a lot of people in the industry don't. Um, I try and be as transparent as possible, which isn't the best thing always. So, I'm learning that. But I feel like if everybody knows it, there's kind of not as much bargaining and what have you. This is the
Mhm.
price of the product. I can't change the price of I use all set always. So it's $35. I can't make that be less. I have to buy it too.
Mhm.
Um, but and then square feet per day. Um, I usually set mine always up. I spend a lot of time doing it, so I'll calculate it at square foot, and then I'll calculate it at a day rate, and then I'll figure out how I feel about it. If I don't think I'm making money at either one, then I'll just make it more. If they ask me for a reasoning, I really don't have one. Rather than it's hard. If you know, if why is herringbone 2,500? Because it's really hard to do, and it takes a lot of time, and it's very mentally and physically taxing. So
Yeah.
I don't have any other reason besides that. It's just hard. Um, I try to stay at or above the industry standard. Uh, so I know it's bad, but every once in a while I have Home Depot come and like measure and give me a quote, and then I'll use like their standards when I'm doing mine.
Mhm.
Um, if it changes or whatever, then I know kind of like where in the ballpark. But if they're at $6 a square foot for hexagon tiles, on the floor, I'm more. So
Yeah.
that's what it is. And then I'm part of Floor Installers of America, a
Yeah.
group in Facebook, and it's really good for square rates and like in your area what the national thing is, and just how other people do it. Just the other day, I was doing a Dietrich Heat quote, and I went on there and looked it all up, what they were doing, how long it takes those guys.
Mhm.
We don't do it a lot in Ohio because you have to buy the duo. You can't buy the bottom one because our ground's frozen. So it has to be really, really hot for you to get a heated floor.
Mhm.
Um, so it's neat to find other people like, in Minnesota, I could, relatively think that our climates would be similar or whatever. So that page really helps me in my pricing or whatever, and just asking questions and getting feedback. And then day rates are always hard. I don't know what my day rate is. It's hard for me. Even demo is kind of hard for me to figure out. That's why I go to those pages and see what people are doing. Always bid high on demo is my thing, because I've ran into like 1910 homes and they got 4 floors. You can't just rip up 1 or 2. You have to rip up all of them, because they just come up when you're ripping up the other ones. So if you bid it as you're taking off 1 layer of some vinyl, you can be in there for 2 days.
Yeah, and that's the kind of little things that, working in your area, working in those homes will teach you. I only made the mistake of underbidding a glue down wood floor once.
Exactly.
Oh. That was a bear.
You're renting a ride-on scraper for sure.
You know what? Luckily, I had a good crew and some hammers, and we basically cut it up into, I think, 12-inch squares, or 6x12s, and then hammered it up. We got it done. I think it was 600 feet, and we got it done in a day. But there was 4 of us total,
and it was a hard day.
Yeah. That sucker was glued good. I'm not a flooring guy by trade, so I didn't understand. I was like, all I seen up until that point was floating floors.
Doing all my 4 years of apprenticeship, all I did pretty much was rip out floors. So that taught me a lot.
Oh yeah, that would set you up to never have to make that mistake.
I was the tear out guy.
Yeah. The gopher.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Matt. Well, I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing your knowledge and your story. I know it's going to be beneficial to a lot. I've enjoyed the conversation. If you want to come on in the future, maybe in 6 to 12 months, and we'll do a follow-up, that'd be great.
Thank you so much for having me, very much. And I would love to. I listened to it, and I hope it helps somebody.
It will, for sure. All right, tile friends. Well, thanks for tuning in and listening to Matt's story. You can find him on Instagram at Rembrandt Tile. He's on Facebook as well. Reach out to Matt. All right, until next time. Oh, if you want to stay in touch with Tile Money, we have a weekly email newsletter. Tilemoney.com is where you can sign up for that, or in the show notes. Until next week, tile friends, please, please, please stay profitable, tile friends. We'll talk to you next week.